She was already yelling when I stepped out of my truck. "You can't park here? This lake belongs to the HOA." Her name tag read Linda, but everyone around here called her the HOA queen. She pointed her phone at me like it was a weapon. "I'm calling 911 right now." I looked at the water and still quiet, reflecting the fall sky. It was my first morning here. I'd just bought the old lake from a private seller last week. The papers were still in the glove box. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "this lake isn't HOA property. It's federally registered." She laughed like I'd told a joke. "Oh, sure. And I'm the president." Then she snapped a picture of my truck plates and shouted into her phone, "Yes, officer, there's a man trespassing and threatening me." I froze for a second, not because I was scared, but because I'd seen this kind of thing before. Some people just can't stand losing control. She wanted a scene, and she was about to get one. Two HOA board members walked over from the trail, whispering to each other. One of them, a tall guy in a suit jacket, said, "Sir, this lake is under HOA supervision. You can't just claim it." I opened my tailgate, pulled out the binder, and laid it on the hood. "I didn't claim it," I said, flipping to the notarized seal. "I bought it." Linda's face went pale for a second, just a second, then she smirked. "We'll see what the cops say." The sound of sirens came echoing down the road. I just smiled because she had no idea who she had called on. HOA called 911 over the old lake I just bought, but I locked them out with federal waterway codes. The cruiser stopped by the gravel road, lights flashing red against the trees. Two officers stepped out, young, polite, confused. Linda ran up to them like she was leading a parade. "That's him," she yelled. "He broke into HOA property and threatened me." The taller cop turned to me. "Sir, can we see your ID?" I nodded, calm as ever, handed it over. "Of course, officer. But before you listen to her, maybe check this." I slid the folder across the hood. The younger cop glanced inside, eyebrows lifting slightly. "This says you own the lake?" Linda jumped in fast. "That's fake. This whole area belongs to the Meadow Ridge HOA. I looked right at her. "Ma'am, this lake hasn't been part of the HOA since 1979. It's a registered federal waterway. You can't even fish here without a state permit." She went silent for a moment, her mouth slightly open. The taller cop turned toward her, frowning. "You said he broke in. Where exactly did that happen?" She hesitated. "Well, he parked here and he was looking at the water weird." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "Looking at water weird? That's a crime now?" The cops exchanged a look. One of them said quietly, "Ma'am, unless you have proof he damaged HOA property, this doesn't look like a crime." Linda's face turned red. "I am the proof. I'm the HOA president." I leaned on my truck. Not for long, I'm guessing. The younger cop handed me back my ID. "Sorry, sir. Looks like you're in the right." I nodded, but I could feel something was off. She wasn't done. People like her never stop at embarrassment. They come back harder. And when she did, she'd find out this wasn't just any lake, because I hadn't told anyone yet who had helped me buy it, or why the federal registry mattered so much. She called the cops on me, but the cops left warning her instead. I thought that was the end of it. Just another angry HOA lady getting put in her place. But that evening, when I came back to check the old dock, something felt wrong. The gate to the lake road was locked with a shiny new padlock that wasn't mine. A sign hung crooked from the chain. "Private, HOA restricted area." I stared at it for a second, jaw tight. She really did it. Linda had actually locked me out of my own property. My phone buzzed and an unknown number. I answered. Her voice came through sharp and smug. "You can't just move in and change the rules." "We voted to reclaim the lake," I laughed softly. "You voted to steal federal land?" "You'll see," she said. "By tomorrow, your truck will be towed and the county will know you forged your papers." Then she hung up. For a second, I just stood there in the cold, staring at the lake. Then I opened the tailgate again and pulled out the metal case I'd kept quiet about. Inside were my old maps, stamped with government waterway codes, the ones that proved the lake was under federal protection. I'd used those same codes years ago when I worked in a Navy logistics unit tracking coastlines and ownership zones. Yeah, she picked the wrong guy to mess with. The next morning, her threat came true. My truck was gone. A fake violation of HOA rules sticker was pasted on my gate. My neighbor across the street whispered, Man, she even called animal control on your dog. I felt the anger rise, slow but controlled. All right, I said, she wants a war. She's gonna get one. Because I wasn't just a buyer with some papers. I was the man who once trained officers on federal maritime law, and I had proof that every move she made was illegal. She locked me out of my own lake, but I was about to show her who really wrote the Waterway rules. The next day, I parked a rental truck just outside the locked gate. I didn't need to break in. I just set up my camera, pointed it straight at the private Joe property sign, and hit record. I knew exactly how this was going to play out. It didn't take long. Linda pulled up in her golf cart like a sheriff in a small-town movie. She had 2 board members with her, clipboards in hand, acting like this was some official operation. "Sir," she said loudly, "you are trespassing on HOA land again. You were warned." I stayed calm. "This is my property, ma'am. I have the title and federal code confirmation. You're the ones trespassing," she smirked. We spoke to county enforcement. They said this whole area falls under our environmental guidelines now. That was the twist I'd been waiting for. She'd gone from petty threats to fake legal orders. Perfect. I opened my phone and dialed a number I hadn't used in years. "Hey, Captain Reese?" "Yeah, it's Logan." A pause. "You still handle federal land disputes for the Corps of Engineers?" Linda frowned, arms crossed. "Who are you calling?" I looked straight at her. "Someone who knows the law better than you do." 10 minutes later, her smile faded as a dark SUV rolled up the road. 2 uniformed officers stepped out. Real federal officers. "Not HOA, not local, real, Mr. Cole," one said. "We got your call. You said someone placed unauthorized signage on federally controlled water?" I pointed at Linda. "Right there," Linda stammered. "Wait, this is a misunderstanding." The officer interrupted her. "Ma'am, placing a private claim on federal waterways is a serious offense." Her clipboard dropped to the dirt. The camera caught everything. Her face, her fake notice, the moment she realized this wasn't going to end the way she planned. I didn't say another word. I just watched as they started writing her up. She brought fake HOA rules to a federal lake, and the real government showed up to her meeting. Linda tried to talk her way out of it, fast. "I didn't mean to break the law. I was just protecting community interests." Her voice cracked halfway through, but the officers didn't blink. One of them started snapping photos of the fake signs while the other read her rights. I stayed silent, recording everything. The air was heavy, like the whole neighborhood had stopped breathing. A few neighbors gathered on the trail, phones in hand. One whispered, "Oh my God, she's actually getting charged?" The taller officer turned to me. "Mr. Cole, do you want to press trespassing and impersonation charges?" I thought for a moment. Every part of me wanted to say yes. She'd lied, harassed me, and tried to destroy my reputation. But I looked at her, shaking, clutching her clipboard like a lifeline, and said, "Not yet. Just make her remove every sign and file." Linda looked up, eyes wide. You're letting me go?" I shrugged. "No, I'm giving you a chance to do the right thing before it gets worse." She glared at me. "You think you've won?" "The HOA board stands with me." I smiled faintly. "Then the board might want to check their emails tonight." Because while she was busy locking gates and faking notices, I had already sent a copy of the video to every resident on the HOA mailing list, plus the local news. The subject line was simple: HOA president imposter exposed on federal land. By evening, her phone was blowing up. She deleted her Facebook and the HOA page went dark. But I knew it wasn't over yet. Someone that obsessed with power doesn't disappear quietly. And sure enough, at midnight, I saw headlights outside my cabin window. A car stopped by the lake gate. Someone got out, not Linda this time, but a man in a dark jacket with an HOA badge clipped to his belt. He was cutting the chain again. She lost the fight but sent someone else to finish it. I stepped out quietly, flashlight in hand. The man froze when the beam hit him. He looked mid-40s, thick beard, nervous eyes. "You shouldn't be out here," he said, his voice low but firm. "HOA maintenance order. We're reclaiming this area for safety." "Safety?" I said, walking closer. "At midnight?" He hesitated, then reached for the lock cutter again. I noticed the patch on his sleeve wasn't standard HOA gear. It looked like something he'd printed himself. "You working for Linda?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he mumbled, "Look, man, she said this place belongs to the community." "I'm just following orders," I sighed. "Wrong orders." Then I pointed behind him. "You might want to turn around." The beam from another flashlight cut through the dark, this one attached to a uniform. Captain Reese stepped forward, holding his badge out. Federal Inspection Unit. You're on protected land, son. Drop the cutters. The man froze, panicked, then dropped them with a clank. Reese looked at me and shook his head. Guess your HOA friend didn't get the message. She won't stop, I said. She's sending people to tamper with federal property now. Reese radioed something back to his car. Within minutes, another vehicle arrived and they escorted the man out. I stood by the lake watching the headlights fade. The night was dead quiet again. But I couldn't shake the feeling it was just the eye of the storm. Because when someone like Linda feels power slipping away, they don't back off. They find another way to strike. Sure enough, the next morning my phone buzzed with a call from a number labeled County Office. The voice on the line said, Mr. Cole, we've received multiple complaints about you running an illegal operation on that lake. We need you to vacate until we investigate. I knew right then, Linda had just played her biggest card yet. She couldn't beat the law, so she tried to use it against me. I drove straight to the county office that morning, folder in hand. The clerk at the front desk looked nervous when she saw me. Mr. Cole, she said quietly, we've been getting calls from your HOA, dozens of them. They claim you're setting up some kind of private marina on restricted land. I almost laughed. Restricted? That lake's federal property. I've got the coordinates and registry right here. I placed the papers on the counter. The clerk glanced over them, then whispered, Honestly, this looks legitimate. But someone high up pushed the complaint. They want an inspection today. I turned. Standing in the doorway was Linda. Clean suit, fake smile, papers clutched in her hand. Good morning, everyone, she said sweetly. I'm here to represent Meadow Ridge HOA. Her voice dripped with confidence again. She thought she had won back control. You can't be serious, I said. You're under investigation for falsifying property claims. She smirked. Oh, I spoke with the county commissioner this morning. Turns out he's on our board too. Small world, huh? That's when it hit me. This wasn't about property anymore. It was about corruption. She had friends in high places and they were willing to bend the rules to help her. But she didn't know one thing. Every word she said, every lie she told in that office was being recorded on the same hidden mic I'd worn since last night. Captain Reese had suggested it. Let her dig her own grave, he'd said. I played it cool, letting her rant about federal mistakes and community rights. The clerk's hands were shaking. Then right on cue, Reese walked in carrying a brown file. Funny thing, he said, placing it on the counter. I just got the official confirmation from Washington. This lake falls under federal protection, under the U.S. Waterways Act, meaning anyone claiming authority over it, he looked directly at Linda, is committing a felony. Her face went blank. The color drained from her cheeks as Reese clicked play on the small recorder in his hand. Her entire speech, every lie she just told, echoed through the office. I didn't say a word. I just watched as her world started to crumble. She thought her friends in power could save her, but the truth was already recording. The news broke that evening. HOA president faces federal charges for land fraud. The video went viral overnight. Every local channel replayed the moment she realized she'd been caught lying in a government office. Comments flooded in. Finally, someone stood up to an HOA tyrant. This guy's a hero. I didn't feel like a hero. I just felt relieved. For weeks, that lake had been a battlefield. My peace turned into chaos because one woman thought power made her untouchable. The next morning, I went down to the dock. The fog was lifting, sunlight spreading across the water. For the first time, there were no signs, no locked gates, no shouting. Just quiet. Captain Reese joined me, hands in his pockets. You know, he said, we get calls like this all the time. People pretending to own what isn't theirs. But this, he nodded toward the lake. This one's gonna make them think twice, I smiled. I didn't buy this place to fight anyone. I just wanted some peace, he chuckled. Sometimes to get peace, you've got to make noise first. We stood there for a minute listening to the water. Then my phone buzzed again, another news alert. The HOA board had officially voted to dissolve. Linda had been charged with impersonating a federal officer and filing false property claims. Justice, clean and final. As I walked back to my cabin, I passed the old wooden gate. The padlock was gone, but I kept it. A reminder of how close someone came to taking everything from me. Before going inside, I turned back once more, looking at the calm lake. You picked the wrong veteran to push around, I muttered under my breath, because this wasn't just about land or water. It was about freedom, the kind of freedom you fight for and never let anyone steal. Viral line. I didn't fight for this country to be told I can't stand on my own land.